Our progress report says we are at stage 5, paragraph page 327. Okay, and our last headword was to be afraid. Newer type of
Yes.
lesson. Okay, let's start with revision. Ready?
Yes.
Here we go. What's the plural of life? What's the plural of life? The plural
The
of life
plural of life
is
is
lives.
life.
Do you think the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich? Do you think the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich? Yes or no?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think the
think
lives of the
the
poor
lives of the
are
poor
happier
are
than those
happier
of the
than
rich.
those of the rich.
I think they're
I
less
think
happy.
they're less happy.
Very good. Make a sentence with the word although in it. Make a sentence with the word although in it, please. Although the food
Although
was not
the
very
food was
nice,
not very
I ate
nice,
it
I
because
ate it
I was
because
hungry.
I was hungry.
Very good. Although you're now able to hold a simple conversation in English, do you think you should keep studying? Although you're now able to hold a simple conversation in English, do you think you should keep studying? Yes.
Yes,
Although I'm
although
now able
I'm now able
to hold
to
a
keep to
simple
hold a simple
conversation in English,
conversation in
I
English,
think I should
I
keep
think I
studying.
should keep studying.
Very good. Are some people always happy although they have problems in their lives? Are some people always happy although they have problems in their lives? Yes. Some
Yes,
people
some
are
people
always
are
happy
always happy
although they have
although they
problems
have
in their
problems
lives.
in their lives.
Very good. Is there a restaurant near there that cooks tasty food? Is there a restaurant near there that cooks tasty food? Yes or no?
Yes,
There's a
yes, there
restaurant
is a restaurant
near here
near
that
here
cooks tasty
that
food.
cooks tasty food.
Is it difficult to cook pasta? Is it difficult to cook pasta? No, it
No,
isn't
it
difficult
isn't
to cook
difficult to
pasta.
cook pasta.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Are you a good cook? Are you a good cook? Yes or no? Yes.
No,
I'm not a good
I'm
cook.
not a good cook.
Me neither. Okay. Do you think that all the countries of the world should be independent? Do you think that all the countries of the world should be independent? Yes or no?
Yes,
I
I
think
think
that all the
that
countries
all the
of the
countries
world
of
should
the
be
world should
independent.
be independent.
Do many European languages have their origins in Latin? Do many European languages have their origins in Latin? Yes, many
Yes,
European
many
languages
European
have their
languages have
origins
their origins
in Latin.
in Latin.
Very good. Why don't you take this book home with you after the lesson? Why don't you take this book home with you after the lesson? I don't take
I
that
don't
book
take
home
that
with
book
me
home
after
with
the
me
lesson
after the lesson
because it
because
doesn't
it
belong to me.
doesn't belong to me.
Very good. Who does this pen belong to? Who does this pen belong to? That pen
That
belongs to
pen
you.
belongs to you.
If a factory belonged to you, do you think he would be able to make a lot of money? If a factory belonged to you, do you think he would be able to make a lot of money? Yes. If a
Yes,
factory
if a
belonged to me,
factory belonged
I
to
think
me,
I would
I
be
think
able
I would be
to
able
make a lot
to
of money.
make a lot of money.
Very good. Okay. What can we use instead of the words would be able in conditional sentences? What can we say instead of would be able in conditional sentences? We can use
We
could
can use could
instead of would
instead
be
of
able
would be
in
able
conditional
in
sentences.
conditional sentences.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. If I was a
If
bird,
I was a
I
bird,
could fly.
I could fly.
Very good. Okay, now I'm going to ask you some questions with the word could, and you answer with the words would be able and vice versa, okay? Number one, if you were very, very tall, could you touch the ceiling? If you were very, very tall, could you touch the ceiling? Yes. If
Yes,
I were
if I
very,
were
very tall,
very, very
I
tall,
would be
I would
able
be
to
able
touch the
to touch
ceiling.
the ceiling.
If you were a doctor, would you be able to help people who were ill? If you were a doctor, would you be able to help people who were ill? Yes. If
Yes,
I
if
were a
I
doctor,
were a
I
doctor,
could help
I could
people
help
who were
people
ill.
who are ill.
Very good. If you were as strong as a horse, could you lift a man above your head with only one hand? If you were as strong as a horse, could you lift a man above your head with only one hand? Yes. If
Yes,
I were
if
as
I were
strong as a
as
horse,
strong as a
I
horse,
would be
I
able
would be
to lift a
able
man
to
above
lift a
my head
man above
with
my head
only one hand.
with only one hand.
Very good. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? You're going to
You
throw
are
your
going
pen.
to throw your pen.
Very good. Do you think you could throw a stone further than I can? Do you think you could throw a stone further than I can? Yes or no?
No,
I don't think
I
I
don't
could
think
throw a
I
stone
could throw a stone
further than you can.
further than you can.
Very good. Okay, is Napoleon alive? Is Napoleon alive? No,
No,
Napoleon isn't
Napoleon
alive.
isn't alive.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Very good. Okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? You're dropping your
You are
pen
dropping
on
your
the
pen
table.
on the table.
What's the pen doing? What's the pen doing? The pen's dropping
Pen's dropping
on the table.
on the table.
What would happen if I drop a glass on the floor? What would happen if I drop a glass on the floor? If you drop
If
a
you
glass on
drop
the
a
floor,
glass on the
it
floor,
would break.
it would break.
Very good. What's the longest time you have ever gone without drinking a drop of water? What's the longest you have ever gone without drinking a drop of water? The longest
The
I've
longest
ever gone
I've ever gone
without drinking a drop
without
of
drinking
water
a
is
drop of water is a half a day.
half a day, very long. Very good. What happened to President Kennedy? What happened to President Kennedy? President Kennedy
President
was
Kennedy
assassinated
was
in
assassinated in
1963.
1963.
Very good. Did anything unusual happen to you yesterday? Did anything unusual happen to you yesterday? Yes or no?
No,
Nothing unusual
nothing
happened to me.
unusual happened
Happened
to
to
me
me yesterday.
yesterday.
Is it usual for people in your country to eat hot food for breakfast? Is it usual for people in your country to eat hot food for breakfast? Yes or no?
No,
It
it
isn't usual
isn't
for
usual
people in my
for
country
people in my
to eat
country
hot
to
food
eat hot
for
food
breakfast.
for breakfast.
Is it unusual
It,
for children to find coffee tasty? Is it unusual for children to find coffee tasty? Yes, it's
yes, it's
unusual for
unusual
children
for
to find
children
coffee
to
tasty.
find coffee tasty.
Very good. What's the difference between the word still and yet? What's the difference between the word still and yet? The difference
The
between
difference
the
between
word still
the
and
word
yet
still and
is that
yet
we use
is that
still
we
for
use still
something that
for
is in
something that
progress
is in
at the
progress
moment,
at the
whereas
moment,
we use
whereas
yet
we
for
use
something
yet
that
for
has not
something
begun
that has not
or
begun
happened.
or
We
happened.
generally use
We
still
generally
in
use
positive
still in
sentences,
positive sentences,
whereas we generally
whereas we
use yet
generally use
in
it
questions,
in
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 questions
questions
and negative
and
sentences.
negative sentences.
Very good. Give me some examples. Give me some example, please. It's still
It's
summer.
still summer.
It isn't autumn yet.
It isn't autumn yet.
Wait, has the lesson finished yet? Has the lesson finished yet? No, the lesson
No,
hasn't
the
finished
lesson
yet.
hasn't finished
It's
yet.
still in progress.
It's still in progress.
Have we finished speaking yet? Have we finished speaking yet? No, we
No,
haven't
we
finished
haven't
speaking yet.
finished speaking yet.
We're still speaking.
We are still speaking.
Very good. Have they gone home yet? Have they gone home yet? No, they
No,
haven't
they
gone home
haven't
yet.
gone home yet.
They're still here.
They are still here.
Very good. Has the autumn begun yet? Has the autumn begun yet? No, autumn
No,
hasn't
autumn
begun yet.
hasn't begun
It's
yet.
still summer.
It's still summer.
Will I still be in this country in 2 weeks' time? Will I still be in this country in 2 weeks' time? Yes, you'll still
Yes,
be
you'll
in that
still be
country
in that
in two
country
weeks' time.
in 2 weeks' time.
Very good. Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? No, the
No,
bottoms of
the
my
bottoms
shoes
of my
aren't
shoes
clean.
aren't
They
clean.
are dirty.
They are dirty.
When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our shoes
When
are
our
dirty,
shoes are
we should
dirty,
clean them.
we should clean them.
Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? I think
I think Tokyo
it's the cleanest city
is the cleanest
I
city
know of.
I know of.
Okay, the hardest question. And which do you think is the dirtiest? Which do you think is the dirtiest? I think
I think
ABC City.
India, ABC
India
City
is the dirtiest.
is the
Well,
dirtiest.
it's our opinion, right? Very good. Which do you think is less unpleasant? The dirt of the city or the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc.? Which do you think is less unpleasant? The dirt of the city or the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc.? I think the dirt
I
of
think
the
the dirt of the farm
is less unpleasant
is less
than
unpleasant
the dirt of the city,
than the dirt of the
of
city,
the country,
of the
etc.
country, etc.
Very good. Do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Yes or no?
Yes,
I
I
remember I
remember
was afraid
I
of
was
the dark
afraid of the
when I
dark
was a little
when I
child.
was a little child.
Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Yes or no?
Yes,
I would
I
be
would
afraid
be
to
afraid
go round the
to
world
go around the
in a
world
small open
in
boat.
the small open boat.
Do people shake when they feel very afraid? Do people shake when they feel very afraid? Yes,
Yes,
people shake
people
when they
shake
feel
when
very
they feel
afraid.
very
Very
afraid.
afraid. Very good. And that's the end of our revision. Very good. Very fast. Let's have new word. Okay, repeat. Guard,
Door,
like security guard. Guard.
guard,
On your guard.
on your guard,
Off your guard.
off your guard.
Very good. Okay, listen. Guard is a verb. It means to keep safe from harm, watch over, or protect something from happening. For example, the best way to guard against becoming ill is to eat healthy food, sleep well, and do exercise. When we say on your guard, it means you are being careful because you think a situation might become difficult or dangerous. For example, we must be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street because maybe we won't be able to find him again if there's a problem with the thing we bought. No guarantee. Off your guard is the opposite of on your guard. Let's practice. What's the best way to guard against becoming ill? What's the best way to guard against becoming ill? The best way
The best
to
way
guard
to
against
guard
becoming ill
against becoming
is
ill
to eat healthy
is
food,
to eat healthy food,
sleep well,
sleep well,
and do exercise.
and do exercise.
Must we be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street? Must we be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street? Yes, we
Yes,
must be
we
on
must
our
be
guard
on our
when we
guard
buy something
when we buy
from a
something
man
from
selling
a
things
man
in the street. Selling things
selling things
in the street.
on in the street.
One more. Yes, we must
Yes,
be on
we
our
must
guard
be on our
when
guard
we buy something
when we buy
from a
something
man
from a
selling
man
things in the
selling
street.
things in the street
Why? Why? Because maybe
because
we
maybe
won't be able
we won't be
to
able
find him
to
again
find him
if
again
there's a problem
if there are problem
with the thing we've
with
bought.
the thing we bought.
Very good. What's the opposite of on your guard? What's the opposite of on your guard? The opposite
The
of
opposite
on your
of
guard
on your guard
is off your
is
guard.
off your guard.
Very good. Next, repeat calm,
Calm,
quietly.
quietly.
Very good. Okay, listen. Calm can be a verb and an adjective. As a verb, it means to become quiet and relaxed after you have been angry, after you have been excited, nervous, or upset. As an adjective, it means relaxed and quiet, not angry, not nervous, or upset, like in a calm state. For example, we're having calm weather at the moment, no storm. Quietly is an adverb. It means without making much noise, in a way that does not attract attention. For example, the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry is to speak quietly and pleasantly to him. Let's practice. What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? The best way
The
to
best way
calm
to
somebody
calm
down
somebody
when
down
he's very angry
when he's very
is to
angry
speak quietly
is to speak
and
quietly
pleasantly to him.
and pleasantly to him.
Are we having calm weather at the moment? Are we having calm weather at the moment? Yes or no?
Yes,
We are having
we
calm
are
weather
having calm
at the moment.
weather at the moment.
Very good. Next, repeat. If I were
If I were
king, like
king,
a king or queen, king,
king,
person.
person,
Very good. Okay, listen. In the second conditional, we can use the verb to be in the past simple and say if I was, if you were, if he was, etc. Or we can use were for all person. We can say if I were, if you were, if he were, etc. So the use of were is the more common form that we can use. King is a noun. A king is a man who rules a country because of his royal birth. For example, if I were a king, my wife would be called a queen. Person. So I'm a person, you're a person. But in English grammar, the word person is used to describe the verbs and pronouns that refer to the different people in a conversation. For example, person for first person, that will be the speaker. I'm the first person because I'm the speaker. So I will use pronouns like we, us, I, etc. Second person, that will be the person I'm speaking to, that will be you. So we can use we, us, you, they. Third person is the person we are talking about. For example, Mr. Brown. So I'm the first person, you're the second person, and he's the third person, the one we are talking about. So we can use he or she or it, like no life, etc. Okay, let's practice. What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? The two ways of
The two ways of
forming
forming
the second conditional with the
forming the
verb to
second
be
conditional
are if
with
I
the
was
verb to be or
and
if
if
I
I
was
were.
and if I were.
Very good. If you're a millionaire, where would you live? If you're a millionaire, where would you live? If I were a millionaire,
If I were a
I
millionaire,
would live in
I would live
where?
in
Where? United States, Hawaii, Okinawa,
uh, Hawaii.
Hawaii. Very good. Why? Why?
Hawaii
Why? Because
because it's a beautiful place.
it's a beautiful place, right? But Japan is a beautiful place as well. Okay. If I were you, which language would I speak? If I were you, which language would I speak? If you were me,
If you were
you would
me,
speak Japanese.
you'd speak Japanese.
If you're a queen, what would your husband be called? If you're a queen, what would your husband be called? If I were a
If I
queen,
were
my
a
husband
queen, my
would be
husband
called a king.
would be called a king.
Well, if there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? If there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? No. If there
No,
wasn't a
if
light
there wasn't a
in this
light
room,
in
we
this
wouldn't be able. Homer, no. If there wasn't a light.
if
Oh, let me reconnect. One moment. Okay, one more. No. If there
no,
wasn't a
if
light
there wasn't a
in
light
this room,
in this
we
room,
wouldn't be
we
able
wouldn't
to
be
see
able
well
to see
when it
well
got dark.
when it got
We
dark.
would see badly.
We
We would see badly.
we would see badly.
Very good. If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? Yes. If there
Yes,
weren't
if
any
there
food
weren't
in the
any
world,
food in the
we
world,
would all
we
die.
would all die.
But if you weren't you, who would you like to be? If you weren't you, who would you like to be? If I weren't me,
If I weren't
I
me,
would like to be
I would like to be
Anne Hathaway, Julia Roberts, uh,
Anne
who?
Hathaway
Anne Hathaway. Why? Why? Because
because she's very beautiful.
very good, good actress as well. Okay, next repeat. If I were you,
If
if
I
I
were
were
you,
you, advice,
advice,
expression. Okay, one more. Expression,
expression,
especially.
especially.
Very good. Okay, listen. We say if I were you when we give advice or when we want to give advice to somebody, especially when we think perhaps there is a problem. For example, I can say if I were you, I would go to see a doctor. I wouldn't open that door if I were you because I think something is inside there that might be dangerous. Let's practice. Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Yes, we can
Yes,
use the
we,
expression if I were you,
if I
Omar. Yes, we can
yes,
use.
we can
The
use
expression,
the
if I
expression
were you,
if I were
to give
you
advice to
to give
somebody.
advice to somebody.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. If I were you,
If I
I
were
would
you,
eat
I
more
would
vegetables. I would
eat
eat
more
very
vegetables,
good. Or I wouldn't
or
buy that
I
car
wouldn't buy
if
that
I were
car
you.
if I were you.
What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? The biggest problem
The biggest
in my
problem
life at
in
the
my
moment
life at
is.
the moment is
What's your biggest problem? Let's say learning English.
le- learning English.
Very good. Give me some advice. Give me some advice, please. If I were you,
If I were
I
you,
would, I would.
I,
Yeah, what advice would you give me? I would exercise more.
I would exercise more.
Very, I needed that. That's correct. Okay. Next, repeat. Win, won, won.
Win, won.
Lottery.
Lottery.
Very good. Okay. Listen. Win, won, won are the three forms of the verb win. Another opposite of the verb lose, besides find, is win. Lose, find, or lose, win. For example, if I won £1 million, I would buy a large house. Lottery or lotto is a noun. It is a game of chance in which people buy tickets with numbers on, and some people win prizes. Lottery is often used to raise money for the government or for a charity. For example, I've never won the lottery. Let's practice. What's another opposite of the verb lose besides find? What's another opposite of the verb lose besides find? Another opposite
Another
of the verb
opposite
lose
of the verb lose
besides find
besides
is win.
find is win.
Are what are the three forms of win? What are the three forms of win? The three forms
The
of
three
win
forms
are
of
win,
win
won,
are
won.
win, won.
Does your country usually win at football? Does your country usually win at football? Yes or no?
No,
My country
my
doesn't
country
usually win at
doesn't
football.
usually win at
It
football.
usually loses.
It usually loses.
Very good. Okay, now let's move on to reading. Very good. So our reading is at stage 3, paragraph page 201. Okay, and our last head word was along. So start with which street do you walk along when you go home?
Which streets do you walk along when you go home?
Hmm.
I walk along ABC Street when I go home.
Very good.
Is there a white line along the road from here
To the next
to
town.
the next town?
Hmm.
Yes, there's a white line along the road from here to the next town. Way. Which is the quickest way to the station from here? The quickest way to the station from here is to go along ABC Street. Which is the best way to remember something very well? The best way to remember something very well is to repeat it often. Do you know the way from here to next
Next
town
town.
by road?
Very good.
Yes, I know the way from here to next town by road. What's the best way to learn a language? The best way to learn a language is to study a lot and repeat and repeat.
Hmm.
How often? How often do you come here? I come here 3 times a week. How often do you go to the cinema? I go to the cinema about once a month. How often do we live? We only live once. How often do you text your friends? I text my friends twice a week.
Hmm.
Health, healthy, healthy, fresh, cheap, salad. Is it good for the health to eat fresh fruit and vegetables? Yes, it's a good for the health to eat fresh fruit and vegetables. Which is healthier to have with our lunch, chips or salad? Salad is healthier to have with our than chips. Is it healthy to go to bed late every day? No, it isn't healthy to go to bed late every day. It's unhealthy to go to bed late every day. Agree. 2 plus 2 equals 7. Do you agree? No, I don't agree that 2 plus 2 equals 7. I disagree. Do you agree that Paris is an ugly place? No, I don't agree that Paris is an ugly place. I disagree. Do you always agree with everything people say? No, I don't always agree with everything people say. Sometimes I agree and sometimes I disagree. Which is it right to say I agree or I am agree? I'm agree. It's right to say I agree.
Okay, very good. So we stop there for